G'day guys, and welcome to another Phil and Jen in the Philippines. Well, as you see, I mounted my trusty steed this morning and decided to attempt to get a better backdrop for the vlog today. I went about 1.5 miles up the road from my place, further into the mountains that are behind Valencia, where I'm living, and I came upon this particular structure half finished, simply because it's now sprinkling rain and in varying amounts, and I'm getting rather wet. But even here there's the old farmyard animals, goats tethered. You'll find domesticated rural animals everywhere in the Philippines. Okay, let's go, and I'll just continue with today's vlog. Probably one of the things I'd like to get across to the viewers is and explain some things. The information that I pass on to you is not to be considered generic about the Philippines. This is such a diverse country that ethnic groups within it act in very diverse ways. Yes, there are similarities, but until you actually get to know those areas yourself, you'll be able to pick and choose what I've told you to be either correct or not applicable to the area that you're living in. So that's one thing to keep in the back of your mind. Everything that I say and explain to you is, of course, my experience in the Philippines, and even though it's been a long period of time in the Philippines, that experience usually is restricted to areas I've lived in, which is mainly Mindanao. As I told you before, I spent 2 years with my wife in General Santos, and then we went to the rural provinces of Mindanao. Now the people in Mindanao are Ilonggo and Ilocanos, and they act in a particular way and they perceive things in a particular way, and that's totally not exactly the same way, or totally different to the Visayas region. So keeping that in mind, be aware that a lot of you that come out to the Philippines eventually will be surrounded by people whose set of values are different to those of the people in Mindanao, and they may act completely differently. As an example, in Visayas and in Dumaguete and the people around Dumaguete, they're known as the gentle people, and it's reflected in their attitude towards life. They're very happy-go-lucky, they're industrious. Whereas the people of Mindanao, or the ones at least in my area that I met, are rather, one would say, gruff. Even my wife said the way they speak Tagalog or Ilocano or Ilonggo is a gruff, rather workmanlike speech pattern. So she can even pick out from speech patterns in the Philippines the temperament of the people that inhabit that particular area. As another example, look, even here I can't get away from the noise of traffic. That happens to be a truck going up the hill. A few of the contributors to this vlog have outlined their particular areas, and a lot of what I say won't be applicable to a lot of people that come over here, simply because the majority of you will probably stay in areas where there's a large expat population. Manila, Clark, Angeles City, and you'll make homes there for yourselves, and they've had a lot of exposure to Westerners. I happened to pick an area that was not only the further southern area in the Philippines, but wasn't really open to and had a great experience with Westerners. And combined with their own cultural differences, they probably reacted to me differently than, say, for instance, although I know they reacted to me differently than the people in Visayas, who've had somewhat a greater exposure to Westerners. Now the other thing is too, just getting back to the structure of this particular country, for many years the central power was held in Manila, which is in Luzon, the northern part of the Philippines. So centralized power and a government held in Luzon and then administered to the rest of the Philippines made the structure of the Philippines difficult to navigate when it comes to, these days, getting anything done. They're trying to decentralise to larger centres like Cebu and Davao, but at the moment, the majority of what you'll have to do if anything goes wrong, or for that matter if anything goes right, will have to go through Manila. As an example of this, I happened to, at one stage in a period that I was here, damage my passport. My stepdaughter actually put it through the washing and damaged it. Now, under normal circumstances, one would think we'll go to, we'll send it away to an embassy or whatever the procedure of the country is, and we'll get a replacement passport. Well, the difficulty in that is that the only place you can get a replacement passport is the embassy in Manila. So I had to travel from the southernmost point by aircraft to Manila. And then you have the bureaucracy of the Philippines. We had to make appointments, we had to wait, so in essence what is theoretically a simple thing to replace a passport not only became long and involved, it became hideously expensive for what it was, apart from the replacement costs of that particular passport. I would imagine, and because Jen wanted to come, so take that into consideration, the replacement of that passport from where I was in rural Mindanao to travelling to Makati, where the embassy is, and then having to accommodate myself there and meals, and then the replacement of the passport ended up costing me well over 150,000 pesos. Now, yes, I could have economised by not taking Jen, but it was an opportunity to go there. And it was also funds I didn't really have to spend or lose, apart from that accident with the passport. So when you're over here, guard the passport with your life. The other thing is too, just as a thought, it would be beneficial because of the amount of rain that occurs in the Philippines, that if you are carrying a passport, make sure it's in a waterproof container of some description, whether it be a wallet or whatever, because water damage occurs in a lot of things over here, and the Philippine government requires so much paperwork. Just take care of it, that's all I'm saying. Another thing, this is a little bit disjointed, but and I suppose it's not a rebuke, but it's an answer to some of the subscribers' questions and inquiries. One of them happened to be a fellow Aussie that is in construction, saw one of the videos and didn't take umbrage, but made a comment that, giving instructions to Filipinos, as I outlined it as an example in one of my videos, wasn't, in his experience, as I said it. Well, the thing about it is, I agree with him, it probably wasn't that experience. One, I was digging a hole in the backyard and getting employees as a very primitive example, so it wasn't really construction. And yes, I do believe people are people. But like most rural areas in any country, it's not as modern as, say, for instance, if you're working in a major centre. And the same goes for the Philippines. The further away you get from centres such as Cebu and Davao and Manila and other large centres, the more, I won't say, well, to use a word, primitive their thought patterns are, or the more countrified their thought patterns are, and they don't have the experience that city people have dealing with Westerners. So that was the example and the experience I gave. I'm not suggesting that Filipinos in any way are difficult to work with if given the right instruction and the right management. I'm the first one to turn around and say, until I got here, I didn't realise how forceful my management style had to be, how explicit it had to be for me to get anything done. So I hope that makes sense. Another one, which was a wonderful subscriber I've got, made mention that her intentions were to travel to the Philippines after they retired and possibly set up an orphanage. Now this is a wonderful thing to do, obviously, and it's something that a lot of expats, especially a lot of ladies, want to do. Not so much set up orphanages, but do something in a physical way to assist a third world or emerging country, whether it be here, the Philippines, or in Africa or whatever. A romantic idea that's what they'd like to contribute to that country because they have empathy for either the children or the country and they want to physically do something. My advice in relation to that, as admirable as it may be, is even though the homework is perceived to be done in your country of origin, and even though you immerse yourselves in things like YouTubes to get an idea of the country, and even if you travel over here for periods of time or to the country of which you wish to assist, please do not, and I can't say this without sounding ridiculous, but don't invest your time, effort and energy in any project, whether it be a business or a charitable event, until you get to the country. And again, the golden rule, do not do anything in that country until you've been there for at least 2 years. You know, it gives you an opportunity to see how the land lies in that particular country. You cannot do research in any way, shape or form in any country that is a substitute for your personally being there and experiencing it yourself. From the way that administrations in these countries work, government officials, attitudes of the people. You may think, and great mistakes by a lot of people have been made, thinking they're doing the right thing and the Christianly thing, and to people in these countries, for whatever reason, aren't taken that way. A lot of people in third world countries take, as I said, umbrance against interloping foreigners that come to their country and think they're doing the right thing, the do-gooders of the world. Now, I know that's a horrible thing to say, and I realise the thoughts behind it, but please, come here, find out for yourself, find out the intricacies involved, find out how people will accept your idea before laying down your plans, because I'll tell you now, from the time you leave and in that 2-year period, your plans will develop, will change, and I'm not saying they'll change from doing the project you wanted to do, but you'll have a greater understanding of how to fulfill those plans and more chance of a success. So there are a couple of things for today's vlog. It's not going to be a long one. I may do another one this afternoon, but have a think. There is absolutely no cure or an ability to gain knowledge about anything until you experience it yourself. So, and it's a cheap way to do it. Sit your backside over here, observe, look, form your own ideas, because things that will affect you, you will never perceive until you're actually here. Now, I'm sorry this is a bit wobbly, but I'm hand holding this. I was on the bike, started to rain, so I pulled over and thought I'd do it. Anyway, guys, subscribe if you would, thumbs up, comment, only too happy to see them. Cheers for now, and I'll see you in the next vlog.